today, which means you actually read the materials, you can listen to the lecture and whatnot, but I'm gonna give you, if you're like next, I think it's Monday afternoon at 2 or something, it's a full week to get the quiz done. So if you didn't, you can do it then. And then there is a post-quiz, which will open up after this class, and again, you'll have a full week. So, again, if I ever don't have your materials up a week prior, you feel free to send me a polite email and say, where is it? And I will get it to you. Okay, so phenytoin and digoxin are two drugs that we, I would say are declining in use, but it almost makes it more important that you know about them because we have less clinical experience with them, especially the providers that are prescribing these medications. So the purpose of this is to be very practically minded. The question is not whether we think phenytoin or digoxin are clinically indicated. It's we've accepted that we're doing it, so now can we do it effectively? That's really the point of today's classes. How do we dose this correctly? So let's just go through this patient, and we'll start. So IBH is a 44-year-old male. He was non-compliant with his meds. This is the number one cause of status epilepticus, actually, is being non-compliant with your seizure meds. So he shows up having seizures, and so we put him on some Keppra, and then we're going to load him with some phenytoin. So what is the appropriate loading dose of phenytoin? How about group 2? And how did you get there? Is the other kind of $1 million question, right?
We did 20 mg per kg, so times 80 to get 1,600 milligrams loading dose.
Beautiful, yes. So you will see in various places that sometimes they'll say a loading dose is 15 to 20. I want you to use 20. I want 20 to kind of always be the answer that you're using. If you have someone that you need to load someone with phenytoin, it's because they're seizing, and we need them to stop seizing. It's bad for your brain. And certainly status epilepticus, the longer it goes, the more likely you are to die. So this is kind of one of those critical illness type moments. We're going to be more aggressive first off, and then we can back off later. So 20 mg per kg, 1,600. Perfect. If we were to use method 2, what is the appropriate loading dose of phenytoin? How about group 4? What was that? Or anyone, you guys can phone a friend, I don't mind. Does anyone have an answer for this one?
1,200 milligrams?
Yes, so using method 2 would be 1,200 milligrams. So again, it's more so just getting familiar with the equation. You just plug in your values. So I think it was 18 times 0.7 times 80 divided by 0.92. Technically divided by 1 after that to come up with 1,200 milligrams. So I like to put this in there just to kind of throw you off and show you that there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. But for me personally, I always would do 20 mg per kg times total body weight. And there's again 2 reasons that I would do this. First off, it's a lot easier to do that than to do the second one. So I'm usually in a rush when I'm doing this. I don't want to pull out some equation, try to remember what the salt form is or whatever else is going on in there. And the other part too is you can see the number is a little bit higher. So it's a slightly larger number. Again, kind of bigger dose. You're trying to load the patient. But both are considered acceptable. And depending on what institution you go to, you may see it done either way. So I do want you to be exposed to it.
Dr. Newsom?
Yes.
I didn't interrupt, but where'd you get the 18?
Where did I get the 18? Forgive me, I probably just have a typo in here. You have 0.7 times 80. Let's see. 0.7 times 80. Did you get 1,200 or no?
I got 1,096, but that was after I put in the 18 that you said to use.
I feel like I'm blanking right now.
We just did 20. We did 20.
Oh, sorry, that's the level. Yes, there you are. That's the level you're going
We
for.
did 20.
Sure, 20 is fine.
And then
Yeah,
give us 12.
perfect. Yeah, you can do 16 if you want. Any number that's kind of in there. Yeah. So generally speaking, I was like, how did I come up with 18? I generally pick 18 for Vanc and for phenytoin. I don't know why. Just feels it's an even number. It's nice. You want to use 20, that's okay. You want to use 16, 15, that's all right too. I don't really like to undershoot. All right.
So for
Yeah.
concentrate, do you do anywhere between 15 and 20 or anywhere between 10 and 20?
That's a good point. So technically you're correct that phenytoin's concentration is between 10 and 20, but we're talking about someone right now who has nothing in their system and who is actively seizing, potentially in status. I kind of want to be on the higher end of the range, if that makes sense. So there's a difference, kind of clinically speaking. If someone comes in, they're completely stable on their phenytoin 300 QHS, which is like everyone's dose, it feels like, and they've got a level of 10.2, I'm not like, oh, I'm concerned about it. Even if it was 8, I might not say anything because they're clinically stable. But when you have someone who, you're trying to get under control, you kind of want to make sure that you maximize that drug before you move to the next one. There's even situations in specific cases where we'll actually target an even higher level and go for 20 to 25. But just for the purposes of the test, if it's between 10 and 20, you'll be fine. Let's see. All right. What is the appropriate concentration, diluent, and infusion rate for this dose of phenytoin? I'm going with the 1600 milligram dose. How did you guys come up with what you're doing there? How about group 6? Or whoever.
Group 23 got the 1600 mgs and a 500 ml bag of normal saline,
Sure.
doing 25 mgs per min for 1 hour.
Sure, okay. So I will tell you that that's totally right. You have done everything in terms of the concentration, the maximum concentration. You're definitely below the maximum infusion rate. So that works, okay? I will tell you that in these situations, we will try to make it go a little bit faster. So you will notice probably for the exam that I'm going to push more towards like how concentrated can you make it without getting in trouble? How fast can you give it without getting in trouble? And then round is something that kind of makes sense. So if you do the straight for phenytoin 5 mg per mil, that comes out to like 320 mLs. You can round up, to me, it's comfortable around with 300 or 350, kind of whatever speaks to you. I would be fine with either of those answers. Totally correct, you need to dilute in normal saline, don't put it in anything else. Phenytoin does not play nicely with others. And then in terms of the infusion rate, I think you can do this at about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And the upside of doing it like that is that you can get it into the patient faster. And so yes.
I'm sorry. I just said 500 ml bag. I calculated 320, but I didn't think that they came in like a 300 or 350 ml size.
That is a great point. So you actually can, in these situations, we can take a bag, like a 250 bag, and they can actually add a little bit of volume to it. And I actually think we have a weird size. I think there is actually 300 that we found somewhere that we use sometimes. But you actually can add volume. But you're right, 500 would be more than fine. And then the question is, how quickly can you infuse it into the patient? Yes.
How did you get you said you could infuse it in like 10 or 15 minutes?
Yes.
What master are you to get to that?
Okay. So let's see here. So if you have 300, and let's say we do 350 mLs. So you have 1600 divided by 350. So you've got, what, 5 mgs per ml? See if I can do this on the, I wish I had a whiteboard that I could do this on for you guys. Let's see here. did you come up with?
If we can do, I guess I was thinking of it in milligrams, so like if we're trying to get 1,600 milligrams into the patient.
Sure.
The fastest we can go is 25, I did like 25 milligrams, and if you do that, it's 64 minutes, so that's an hour, it's just too long.
So 5 milligrams per mil, and then let's see here. So your maximum is 50 milligrams per minute, right? Yes, I'm getting closer to a half an hour.
Yeah, 32 minutes.
Yeah, there we go. 30 minutes. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Okay. The team decides that they want to use fosphenytoin. So again, I think I mentioned this in the lecture. So fosphenytoin is a expensive big brother to phenytoin. It's a prodrug. They brought it out onto market kind of with the idea that it was going to be, it plays nicely with others in terms of like diluents, you can run it faster, all that kind of stuff. But the problem with the idea of a prodrug is even though you can get it into the patient faster, it still has to convert over. So it's probably in terms of time to active drug about the same. But nonetheless, sometimes phenytoin goes on drug shortage, all those types of things. So you can see it where you will have to use this. So if they decided they wanted to use fosphenytoin, what would be the appropriate, would the dose change when we talk about fosphenytoin and phenytoin?
No, because it's in the phenytoin equivalent, so it's already calculated for us.
Yes, yes, that's what I want you to realize. So, you know, just keep it simple in your mind. So technically, yes, the fosphenytoin milligrams are different than the phenytoin milligrams. For how, when we talk about it, it's all in phenytoin equivalents. So whenever you're talking about it, just imagine it as phenytoin in your head, all right? And occasionally you'll get someone who is like looking on the package insert and they'll give you some number or something, and you just gotta be like, no, we're not doing that. Just keep it simple, okay? So it's a great, just always keep in mind, especially when you're under stress. So what is the concentration you can do for this? So is that group 23 that one? How about group 22? You guys there?
Uh, 22's here.
Awesome. Any ideas on how you would build this bag of 1,600 milligrams of fosphenytoin?
The maximum concentration is 25 mgs of phenytoin equivalents per ml.